Hello. I'm glad to be with you today to wish you well on this year's Indonesian Quality Award Conference and to apologize for not being with you, but as many of you realize, as many other economies around the world, we are facing some challenging economic and budgetary times in the Baldrige program. It is my pleasure today, however, to be speaking to you from the National Institute of Standards and Technology, our home, and in particular from the Jake Rabinow room. Jake Rabinow was a long time staff member at the National Institute of Standards and Technology and was well known for his many inventions and patents. As a matter of fact, he was probably the most prolific innovator that NIST ever has had. I think that's a fitting location for me to speak to you today because of the importance of innovation, not only to the Baldrige program, but to economies around the world. It was with that in mind that several years ago, we actually modified the Baldrige criteria to place a more heavy focus on innovation. And in fact, for the purposes of Baldrige and organizations worldwide, defined innovation as having three critical components. The first is product innovation, and you see here from Jake Rabinow many of the products that he innovated, that he developed. The second type of innovation is process innovation, so improving the way you do things and make things. And the third kind of innovation is one that we really focus on in Baldrige and that isn't focused on in many other definitions of innovation, and that's innovation in an organization's structure, business model, and the way it operates. And indeed, forefront organizations who have achieved the role model recognition of the Baldrige Award are frequently known for the innovations they've made in their business models in the way they operate. Those kinds of innovations are particularly challenging these days because of the increasing complexity of the environment in which we operate. And complexity, of course, was one of the key topics that we focused on in the most recent revisions to the Baldrige criteria. A study done about a year ago of 1,500 CEOs globally showed that dealing with complexity was the most significant challenge that they said they faced. The complexity of their environment, the complexity of being capable of being agile as conditions change, and indeed we've seen conditions change dramatically throughout the globe for businesses over the last several years. Dealing with complexity and being agile requires that you are able to execute with simplicity so that you can handle a complexity but then execute with simplicity. So with that in mind, I thought I would share with you today three questions that I think if you ask yourselves embody everything that's in the Baldrige criteria for performance excellence. Three questions that I think if every organization answered, they would rapidly be on the way to performance improvement. First question, are you doing as well as you could as an organization? Are you doing as well as you could as an organization? Second question, how do you know? Do you have measures? Do you measure the right things to know that you are doing as well as you could? And third question, how and what could you improve or change to do better? How or what could you improve or change to do better? And really everything else in the Baldrige criteria is a derivative of those three questions and helps you answer them from the perspective of a systematic and systemic way of looking at your organization. So I encourage you as you proceed with your conference to think of these three questions for your organization, how they relate to you, how the Baldrige criteria elaborate on them, and to then engage in the journey that will improve your organization and make it competitive in today's global economy. Once again, I wish you very well on your conference. I'm sure it will be a success, and thank you for inviting me to address you today. Have a great conference.